I've been thinking about exploration for a while, so when I came across a book of essays about the new age of adventure, it was right in my wheelhouse, and I wanted to read it. Some of the pieces were riveting, others were more of a slog. Calling it the new age of adventure is a reference to the so-called age of exploration, or even sometimes the golden age of exploration, which is pretty much at an end in spite of NASA's plucky determination to colonize Mars. Adventure basically means that you are in a situation in which the outcome is no foregone conclusion. We like sports so much because the games provide us with quick injections of vicarious adventure, not to mention convenient betting opportunities. A good story is almost always something of an adventure, suspenseful, with the end in doubt. Some people do their level best to avoid adventure, minimize risk. Adventure is obviously stressful, possibly perilous. Other people are, by nature, thrill seekers. They will eagerly go out of their way to find and even to cultivate adventure. They crave it. Some literally cannot get enough of it. With no or very little unknown territory to explore, these people deliberately go to inhospitable places, places made inhospitable by war, disease, location, or climate. Of the latter, this book contained journeys to the Sahara, which is also known as the Void, Siberia, the Aleutian Islands, and of course, Mount Everest. Obviously, the people who would go to such extremes are looking for a rip-roaring extreme, nothing sedate or ordinary. They want to immerse themselves in this extreme, both to find out firsthand what it's like and also to see if they can survive it, to test themselves, to see if they are a match for the harsh, unforgiving conditions. The problem, at least for these kinds of people, is that if they do measure up, if they do survive, their first thought is that it wasn't tough enough of a test. They need more. It's Evel Knievel's conundrum. If you can jump 21 semi-trucks, how about 22? One man put it this way: the only mountain I can truly respect is the one that denies me the glory of its summit and punishes me for the hubris of my aspiration. That man had a son who went on an increasingly difficult climbs in Alaska, always alone. He described them as kind of like kamikaze missions, and he said he thought he was like a man who might truly disappear into the wilderness and come to be part of something greater than himself. If that really was his wish, he achieved it, disappearing on one of his forays into the wild. For some, it's an appetite, an addiction that can't be satisfied. Joshua Slocum sailed alone around the world, 46,000 miles, the first person to do it. He wrote a book about it, then set off again, this time never to return. And then there's Dan Osman. He was a rock rat, working on his technique in the Lake Tahoe area. He began making unassisted speed free climbs and gained some notoriety from this. There's a video on the internet showing him racing up a vertical cliff, 400 feet, in a little over 5 minutes. It's impressive to see. You'd think that guy is crazy, crazy good. He made a number of movies like that and was featured in several commercials. A drifter with no other claim to achievement, he found himself to be a kind of, if you will, rock star. In that situation, you stay on top only if you find a way to top yourself, increasing the risk. Working on a rock one day, trying to place a nut, Osman kept falling, caught by his rope. After a while of this, not one to be denied, Osman found a greater excitement in falling than he did in climbing. Falling, it occurred to him, could be the next big thing. So he began to make deliberate falls, protected by a system of ropes he devised, and soon he was falling hundreds of feet, and then of course going for a world's record, 1,000-foot drop, and he made that too. After that, the bitch that is fame drove him to greater distances until there was an accident and he was killed. The question always asked about such people is, do they have to die? And the answer, for me anyway, is definitely yes. Not that they want to die, the so-called death wish, because they know they're going to die anyway. These people prefer to do it on their own terms, at the furthest possible limit, so that life for them would always be an adventure. Anything less is not really living.